Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm going to show you the difference between a terrible yearbook picture and a good one. Okay, so we're in the studio and I'm practicing, making sure I've got my setup dialed in for a yearbook shoot tomorrow. It's like 2,500 kids, which sounds like a lot, but yearbook pictures are obviously pretty repetitive. So that does have a lot of challenges involved with it. And this isn't probably something that most people would think that I do. And I actually didn't do it for a long time. I used to turn it down quite a bit. And I don't really know why, other than just because they kind of get a bad rap because they usually don't turn out very good. And I think there's a lot of reasons why that is. And I realized a couple years ago that I was pretty stupid for turning down so much extra work that would probably be relatively easy. Now, like I said, it does have challenges because it can be a lot of kids. Like for instance, tomorrow, 2,500, that's a lot. We're gonna have 4 different photographers because I couldn't do that alone. But even smaller schools like 500 or 600, that's a lot of kids to run through. So it gets repetitive and it can get tiring, but if you have a good system, it can work out really well. Now, you wanna take it as a challenge to try to make them good, and that's what I did. Because they are typically generic looking and a little bit boring. So I thought, well, what can I do to make them better so people will actually like them? So I tried to analyze yearbook pictures I've had done, or family members, my kids. So I went back and looked at a bunch of old ones, and I found a few different things that was pretty common. Number one, I thought the backgrounds were a little bit cheesy and boring. Number two, the lighting was pretty boring. And number three, the color is usually pretty bad. They seem to have kind of like a blue, almost dead color to them, like they're just too cool. And so I tried to figure out what I could do to improve all of those things. Okay, so the first thing, let's take a look at the background. So this is just a textured background from Westcott on an Extra Op Pro. I'll put the link to these below so you guys can check them out. They've got a bunch of different kinds. So all the yearbook pictures that I looked at had somewhat similar backgrounds to this. And so I realized it wasn't really the background that was bad. It was more the lighting and the coloring that was making the background look bad. Because when you think about it, I thought, my first thought was I'll put like a vibrant color back there, maybe light it in the middle so it's brighter and make it look really colorful. But that's not gonna work when you've got 2,500 kids and they all have different clothes on. They have different colors. There's gonna be some colors that won't look good with blue or orange or whatever you pick. So that's why you probably need something that's neutral like that. So you could go with a solid color, which would be fine, but I chose to do a little bit of a texture, which, either one would be good. So I don't think that's actually an issue, whereas at first I thought it was. So the second thing I wanted to look at was the lighting. So they're typically, you can tell the way something's lit by the catch lights in somebody's eyes, the reflections in their eyes. So as long as you can see it anyway. So typically what it looks like, most yearbook pictures are lit like, is there's 2 umbrellas, one on each side, that are evenly apart, about 45 degrees, and that's gonna make really flat, even light. And the reason they're probably doing that is because everybody's got a different face, everybody's got a different side. That's gonna make everybody lit the same way. So therefore, if you put, my first thought was put a, big softbox, like a 4-foot softbox, camera left, or camera right. And if you do that and make it more directional, yeah, it's gonna be more interesting because there'll be some shadows. But if that's not somebody's good side that you're lighting, then their picture's not gonna look as good. So that's gonna pose a problem, right? Another problem would be that could also create a glare in people's glasses. Now, yes, you could take a frame without somebody's glasses on and then Photoshop it, but you don't wanna have to do that when you've got that many kids. There's no telling how many times you would have to Photoshop, somebody's glasses out. That's gonna take way too long and way too much work. So how do you solve that problem? You can use 2 lights, but when you have 4 photographers, that's gonna be a lot more lights, right? So I can cut it down to 1, put a bigger light source on it, put it in the middle, have it raised up and angled down. So that's still gonna have the even lighting. It's gonna eliminate the glare on the glasses if anybody has glasses, and then it's still gonna create some drama because you're gonna have some shadow underneath, like underneath the nose, underneath the chin a little bit, but it's also gonna be really soft because that light source is so big, because the bigger the light source, the softer the light, right? Okay, so then one more thing, I thought adding another light, the second light behind, putting a hair light behind the background, and I have a 1x3 strip box on here today with the grid, with both layers of diffusion. That's on a FJ400. And we've got it, like I said, behind on a C-stand, raised all the way up. So that's gonna light the person from the back. It's gonna light the back of their hair, the back of their shoulders. I thought about putting an edge light, one of those strip boxes on each side, but then that's gonna make 3 lights. So you got 4 photographers, that's 12 lights, versus if you just do 2, then obviously it's only 6, it's half as many. So you're keeping your cost down, and you're still getting the same type of effect because you're gonna get an edge light, which is gonna cut them out from the background. It's gonna make them look a little bit more three-dimensional and add a little bit more interest to it. So you're still gonna flat light them in front with a little bit more shadow and drama, even though it's even. And then you're gonna have the edge light back behind them too. So that's gonna automatically make it, in my opinion, probably a better photo. And so then the third thing, I went through all of my white balances to see what people were setting their white balance to consistently on yearbook pictures. And the best conclusion I came to was that they were doing auto, because everything looked so blue and dead. So you can put it on flash, but when you have a neutral background like this that's kind of grayish, it's gonna warm it up a lot, and maybe a little bit too much, honestly. So the way I think that would be the better solution would be to get a white card and then set a custom white balance so that you know you're gonna have consistent color. And then if you have more than one photographer, you can have them all do that, and then the color's gonna be the same with every single one of them. So that's gonna solve that problem too, and warm it up a little bit, but not too much. So now let's go through both scenarios. I'll show you what the bad one looks like first, and then show you my solution for all those problems in the good yearbook picture. All right, Owen, you ready? Okay, so I also have a V-flat here. These are from V-flat World. You don't have to have these, but what these are doing is it's eliminating any kind of color cast from any kind of contaminant that might be on each side of the person. It also kind of boxes them in a little bit so that they don't feel like they're being looked at by everybody, because that's always a problem with yearbook pictures or any kind of school picture like this. So we've got one light on each side, 2 FJ200s, and we've got the little silver reflector on the inside. I'll turn it around so you can see. And we've got them set on the same group and the same channel, which is our 11A, the same channel and group. And they're both at the same angle. So this is gonna simulate the stereotypical boring picture. And I've got my white balance set to auto. I'm shooting on my Sony A9 III with the 70-200, and I'm at about 100 millimeters, 1/125th, f/5.6, ISO 250. All right, so let's just take a shot and see what we look like. Good. All right, so that's not the worst picture I've ever seen, but it's probably pretty close. It's not very good. It's just flat, boring, color's not very good. Okay, so now let's flip the set around, get the new lighting set up, and see if we can make it better. Okay, so we've got a C-stand here raised up pretty high with an FJ400, a Westcott 7-foot umbrella with a silver interior, and we've got the white diffusion on the outside of it. We've got it angled not quite straight down, but pretty close. And I don't have the boom on it, so I do have to have it out of frame, camera right, but it's still gonna be even. And I've got it raised up high enough so if we have somebody that's taller, that I don't have to raise it back and forth constantly. So you can change the power of the light with your remote. And I have it set to, I think I had them both set to, yeah, so I have it set to 6 out of 9, and then the edge light back here, the hair light with the strip box, is set to 6.5. And the reason I have them at different powers is because I didn't meter anything, I just kind of eyeballed it, but I have, that one's a little bit further away. It's a smaller light source, and it's also got 2 layers of diffusion and a grid, so that means the power is gonna be killed a little bit more. This one's a lot closer, and it's only got 1 layer of diffusion. So I've got it turned up a half a stop higher. So what I'm gonna do is take a picture with the edge light first with no other light on, then take a picture with this on, and then make sure they look good together. And we've got him like, let's see, 1, 2, like 3 steps off the background. That's not very technical, but you don't want them right up on it, because if they're right up on it, they can make a shadow, which it probably won't get much of a shadow because we're angled down, but still. You want to keep them off of that as much as possible in case it's a different color. You don't want any color cast or anything like that. So, okay, so we're going to keep the camera at the same settings, 5.6, 1/125th, ISO 250. Okay, all right, so let's turn the hair light on first and get that set. I'm not going to change my white balance or anything yet. We'll do that last, once we get the light dialed in right. Oh, we need to turn that main one off. Okay, all right, so we've just got B on 6.5. And that doesn't look quite bright enough, so I'm gonna actually turn that up to 7.5. There we go, good. Okay, that's better. I don't want it blown out, but I want some detail in there, so now let's turn the main light on. That looks good. We'll leave it on 6, see how that looks. They could probably both go up just a little bit. So I'm gonna go to 6.5, and then I'm gonna turn this up to 7.8. All right, one more time, good. All right, that looks good. There's a little bit of highlight on his shoulders and his hair, not too much, it's not too bright, not blown out. And then the light looks nice and even on his face, but there is some shadow underneath his chin, underneath his nose, but not too much. Okay, so now let's set the white balance. So I've got a Calibrite color checker with the white card. I'm just gonna have him hold this up by his face. And you only have to do this once. So I'm gonna take this off so I can get closer. So I'm gonna go to my function menu and go into my white balance. And then I'm gonna go to the custom, there's 3 of them. I'm gonna go to the first one and then press over to go to set. And then put that box right on the white. And then it's gonna ask me if that's good. It looks good. So now we're gonna have consistent color the entire time. That's another thing with auto white balance. If you leave it on that, it could change depending on what somebody has on. And you definitely don't want that. Color being consistent is very important. Okay. All right, so now we've got everything dialed in. So let's take the yearbook picture that doesn't suck. All right. All right, pull your head out just a little bit straight. There you go, good. All right, gotta look happy. Chin down just a little bit. There you go, good job. Good. One more. Good. Very nice. Much better than the other one. Yeah, that color looks, the color in the first one, and it's funny because you look at this and you don't really, it doesn't look great, but it doesn't look as bad as you think until you see the correct color, and then it looks really nice. So, all right, that looks great. All right, so one more thing we're gonna do. I'm gonna show you the glasses glare, how it can alleviate that. I'm gonna lower the light first and flatten it out to show you what it will do as far as glare, and then we're gonna raise it up to how we have it now so you can see the difference in that too. And he actually forgot his glasses, so these are his brothers. They're probably not gonna fit 100% right, but I think it'll do good enough just for this. Can you see?
Yeah. Really zoomed in.
Okay, all right. That's good. Good, all right. All right, so you can see those are non-glare glasses, and he's got his chin up a little bit, but that's still, kids are gonna do that every now and then, but that's got, it's not terrible, but there's definitely, you can see that light up in the top right, the camera right on his frames there. So let's flatten this back out. How we had it, and raise it up. And do one more. All right, ready? Good. And the glare is gone. There's a little bit of a reflection from the frame on the top, but that's okay. That actually looks pretty good, honestly. That gives a little bit of dimension, so that looks great. All right, that's it. Pretty quick and easy. Those are some things you can do to change your yearbook pictures so they don't suck. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified when we post new content. There's gonna be a lot more to come. We'll see you next time.